Thank you so very much for joining me today in this article. This article is from the African Report. Demographic Winter. The future of humanity will be less white and increasingly African by Francois Sudan. This was posted on Thursday, July the 8th, 2021. Afrophobic populists of Europe and beyond, be warned, the future of humanity will be less and less white and increasingly African. Societies can try all they might to stem this unstoppable trend, but their efforts will be in vain. And that is very true. We're going to go ahead and read this article, and then we're going to get into my perspective of the whole thing. Population projections, including the most conservative among them, have all arrived at the same categorical conclusion. And 1 in 3 people on the planet will be born in sub-Saharan Africa, while Nigeria's population will overtake that of China, becoming the second largest country after India. By 2050, that's less than 30 years from now, the Democratic Republic of Congo will be home to close to 200 million people, including 30 million in the Kinshasa metropolitan area alone. The population of Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire will surpass the 10 million threshold, and 4 Sahel countries will see the third-fold increase in their inhabitants. Relative to other continents, such population explosion is unprecedented in human history, demographers say. No doubt provided that we will put it in context. Let's get back to the numbers. Although fertility rates have been falling steadily since the late 1900s, they remain by far the highest in sub-Saharan Africa, where women give birth on an average to 4.7 children compared to 2.4 children globally. Moreover, birth rates exceed 5 children per woman in most Western and Central African countries. Cape Verde, Djibouti, and Mauritius have successfully reined in population growth, but these are small nations to begin with. Meanwhile, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and South Africa are doing all they can to keep their populations in check. And the list of countries which, from a Malthusian standpoint, can be considered worthy ends there. It should therefore come as no surprise that this part of the world, which at the current rate of growth will account for 35% of the global population in 21. And I mean the year 21,000. 2,000, 21,000. Yeah, 21,000. Sorry, you guys. That was a slow moment there. 21,000. Is also the youngest. The median age on the continent is 19 versus 42 in Europe. Demographic winter. If our world is becoming increasingly African, it is first and foremost because 4 out of 7 continents have entered what Pope Francis once called, with certain, a demographic winter. Almost everywhere outside sub-Saharan Africa, including in North Africa, fertility rates have tended to fall below the replacement rate, meaning that at which a population exactly replaces itself from one generation to the next of births, 2.1 births per woman. Yeah, the imminent medical journey. The Lancet warns that wealthy countries are already experiencing this relentless downward spiral, which will lead to the decline of the world's population from 2060 onwards. In Europe and North America, fertility rates are in the 1.5 to 2 birth rates, 1.5 to 2 births per woman range. In Asia, South Korea, fertility rates has fallen below 1, while Japan's adult diaper scales out those of baby diapers. China is also indicative of those global trends, long an obsession for Western commentators and source of pride with the Chinese Communist Party. China will lose its standing as the world's most populous nation after 2030 to the great changing of Beijing. The populace of India and by around 2090, Nigeria will outstrip the aging giant, which has entered a cycle of population decline. With 1.5 billion inhabitants today, the population of Jinping-led countries could, according to various studies, including the published The Lancet, fall to 730 million by the end of this century. And wow, COVID just made that worse. Wow. Confronted with these numbers, the Polio Alberto of the Chinese Communist Party decided a year ago to allow married couples to have up to 3 children. China's citizens seem hardly enthused by the change. However, it is rather unlikely to reverse the country's trend towards a shrinking population. Demographic dividend. We could spend all day speculating over the various reasons why the desire to have children has plummeted in China and elsewhere in the world, with the sole exception of Saharan Africa. Anxiety over the future, concerns around unemployment and the loss of social status, environmental fear, easy access to contraception, low rates of religious belief, and other reasons have gotten the better of pro-natal policies in affluent and developing countries. Over a period of 15 years, the South Korean government has invested 178 billion, I don't know what that means, in a wide range of social benefits, such as paid leave, free health care, child care, primary school tuition, scholarships, and other perks, including free iPhones, in a bid to raise birth rates in the country. The trouble is, none of this has made a difference. South Korea's fertility rate today stands at 0.9, the world's lowest. Apart from continuing to increase the retirement age, Germany is considering ticking it up to 69 years. The only political way out of this population slump for Europe, where retirees will outnumber workers by a factor of 2 and deaths will outpace births. This, is to rely on a steady flow of immigration, with most newcomers arriving from the one continent and still has a growing population, Africa. To maintain its population at current levels, Europe needs to integrate between 2 million and 3 million immigrants each year. If it wasn't for high birth rates among the citizens of African descent and from overseas departments and territories, France would already be on par with its southern Italy, Portugal, and Spain, and eastern Germany neighbors, where populations is stagnating and will soon be decreasing. The reality is that, in pure capitalist logic, European governments should be encouraging immigration, if not wooing migrants with its cash bonuses, rather than creating migrant roadblocks to immigration. This couldn't be truer now that the average level of qualification of prospective migrants in sub-Saharan Africa has risen over the last 15 years. Many of them are educated, come from countries such as Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Nigeria. none of which belong to the group of states with the lowest average income per capita. This last finding raises a new problem, as it casts doubt on the commonly held view according to which developed automatically leads to a decrease in the last finding raises a new problem, as it casts doubt on the commonly held view according to which development automatically leads to a decrease in the propensity to immigrate. Does this mean that the so-called demographic dividend, to which in principle only Africa can lay claim by the end of this century, is an illusion? No, it doesn't. But a number of prerequisites must be met in order to benefit from it. The paradox that it is in sub-Saharan African countries where life expectancy is the lowest in the world, 61 compared to 72. The human development indicators are the lowest, as the greatest number of children born is not related to faith and confidence in the future that a decision to procreate often represents. In the poorest households, the need for security in old age. With young people expected to care for the elderly, the economic contribution of child labor remain key factors driving high birth rates. Higher standards of living, education levels, and rates of urban sustain correlate with lower fertility rates. If Africa is to retain its dynamic, bold, and creative citizenry, i.e., those most likely to venture down to the risky path of immigration and reap the rewards of its demographic dividend outside the realm of political disclosure, then the continent must emphasize education, work training programs, and forward-thinking job creation policies, such as better family planning. This is the price to pay to ensure Africa's sustainable development and rightful standing in tomorrow's world. All right, that was a very nice article. It will be heavily edited, I tell you that. Okay, here we go. There are a lot of things going on here at play. Unfortunately, it's not just about folks having sex. That's not the only problem, okay? You got a whole lot more problems that's going on here. And we can say that it's doing different things in different areas, but that's not true either. It's the same thing on every fucking continent out here. I guarantee you that it is. Okay? The problems is everywhere, and it's the same problem. Okay? Let's start cellular. Let's start with our genetics. Okay? Genetically, some of these races that are not making it right now have been afforded a very cushiony place to make the population that they made. I.e. America, their baby boomers came because of a war. Okay? That's where that biggest population came from, was wars and shit like that. Okay? But unfortunately, you can't have wars all the time because that'll boom, take your people out. And we have seen that with our wars that we have on every other continent that we have it on. It takes lives. And at the same time, it's a moneymaker. Then on top of that, these people's confidence was so high. Hell yeah, they wanted to make babies after that war because it was something that they deemed that they won. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, they wanted to make babies, and they did. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They made babies. And then they got to work. Then they got real comfortable. Then they let their religion tell them that, oh, you can't be no hoe, you can't go out here, you need to have a job, you need to do this, you need to do that. And that religious thing hits on every continent too. We're at a point where humans just want to raise up one gender, but at the same time down the other one. We don't get along with each other. Men can't hold women down and just make them have babies and be, barefoot and pregnant anymore. Women want careers and jobs and a fucking peace of mind. That's one thing. The second thing is money. It's money. And this is on every continent, man. It's money. You need money to be here. You need money to deal with stuff. You need money to do everything here. You can't do anything for free. And they want to charge you so much. But then when you go to work, when you clock in, when you do the work that they tell you to do, at the end of the day, and on Friday, when you get that check don't look worth shit. They done taxed the hell out of it, and then they didn't even pay you worth anything to begin with. But at the same time, these prices are steady going up. Your rent is going up. Lights, gas, that shit fluctuates whenever folks feel like fluctuating it. Everybody's getting hit by this. Let's see, what's another one? Let's see, we did genetics, we did money. You got diseases out here, especially a certain one right now that's kicking down asses. And this disease is causing, I should call it a sickness. And sickness is causing more issues. Things are getting exacerbated. People aren't protecting themselves now. They think they got it taken care of. They think everything is good because you have our mainstream media that wants to say nothing or have been told not to say anything. Yeah, you got a whole lot of stuff happening here. And then nobody's talking about this fungus, and I've spoken about this, and I think that's going to be our second issue. Then you got people out here on drugs, and I'm talking about the hard stuff, opioids, the stuff that you can overdose from. Okay, the stuff that you can overdose from. Not from, that regular shit. There's people still out here dying. That stuff has gone up. And then there's multiple reasons on that. Then you got your suicides. One thing happens in the family or to a friend, and for some folks, that's the absolute last straw, and they don't want to be here anymore. Then you got your spiritual issues. There was a contract a long time ago that the populations would explode and be beautiful and be fruitful, while the real children were being punished and hurt, pushed off their land, murdered on their land, and they had it taken over. That contract is up. It's up. So, this is what is supposed to happen. And once you really think about it, you had people like Bill Gates and all these rich people that have no reason and have no real real education about being in laboratories and about medical things and stuff like that. Computer guys, stay on computers and sit your ass down. See, they had a plan. This person had a plan. See, I believe that some of these rich folks already knew. Well, because it doesn't really take that much, and especially if you get the real news while the rest of the population get the bullshit. You're rich enough to know what the fuck's going on. Okay? Because you helped it steer it that way. So, of course you're going to know what's going on. And of course, you're going to understand that your population is going downhill. So if you know that your shit's going downhill, you must know whose stuff is going to be raising up. So that's why these white men like to get up in their little private meetings and speak about how to get rid of the African country and the population. But unfortunately, they won't worry enough about their own stuff. They won't worry about their own people. They were too busy worried about what the black man doing to actually figure out what's going on with his folks and how to fix his folks. They were too busy trying to entertain you. They were too busy trying to keep you sick. Now all of a sudden, lives matter. But the whole time they've been trying to hurt you. It's no wonder they're trying to get off this planet. I could see why you're trying to get off. I would try to get off too if I could. If I were y'all, I would absolutely want to get off this planet. I want to stay here for this shit. But unfortunately, well, from my standpoint, fortunately, you're not gonna get far. Okay, that's just it. You're not gonna get far. What we have to worry about now is the weight. I mean, that article was very nice. It tried to be nice, really, really nice. And it didn't include what's happening right now, Yeah, but this stuff is going to happen way sooner than what we expected. Way sooner. Those numbers were crazy. Like, man, just to really understand what's going on here. I mean, just imagine. And then they talk about, oh well, we can do this by opening up immigration, but not the way you're doing it. Just look at America's immigration. You can be from a European country and it takes you what, 6 months to become an American citizen. But if you coming from a black country or something like that, it takes years and a whole bunch of money to do the same damn thing. But your problem is special asses, is that the countries that you only take 6 months to give American status to, those countries are short on people too. So what good is that going to do you now? And don't think I didn't hear about those immigration forums. When these people do come into this country, you tell these folks not to look us in the face. You tell these people not to look us in the eyes. Are you serious? We're violent. Really? You got to change that up now, don't you? Don't nobody believe that shit now. Everybody know that it's y'all. It's y'all that are the most violent. They know. They just trying to be polite with y'all asses. But anyway, that's enough of my rantings. Thank you for listening. Have a good evening. Have a good morning. Have a good night.